Was just live for about 15 minutes and I lost my connection. So we're just going to start again. So, see, I thought I was reconnected, but as far as I can tell, that was not the case. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit today about this Epstein Phase 1 file release. Seems to be going really well so far. And I know that I'm enjoying learning all the info that we're learning, and just checking the audio there. And then the Tate brothers coming to America. That's it's going to be really great, I think, for our communities, for society to have them here and have their influence here. I think will be a wonderful thing, and the stock market. I think things are just really booming, and consumer confidence is really strong. The economy seems like it's going to be just zooming along, and yeah, I think everything's looking great. And that was all sarcastic, if you you couldn't tell. But I mean, the absolute mess that was this apparent phase one of the Epstein files. Before before we learned that these binders were packed full of documents that are heavily redacted, almost fully redacted, before we learned that, my from just seeing the binders, my initial reaction was, why do we need a phase one? What is the purpose of phases? Right? If this whole concept was Trump is the president, Trump can come in, he can build his cabinet, he can have his appointments the way that he wants it. People that are in support of putting the things out there and doing things the way that he wants to do. If that's the case, why not just publish it all? Right? First of all, why go through this ridiculous endeavor of inviting social media influencers into the White House and handing them this printed, like this hard copy thing, and then leaving it to them to disseminate it? Why not just publish it online and say, here you go enjoy. Everyone has access to it, because if you have an internet connection, you can go see it. Why not do it that way? Well, my suspicion is because, first of all, before they went into that meeting, they knew what was in those binders, right? Not the social media influencers, but the people who were handing it over to them. They knew what was in those binders. And so now that all the backlash is coming and people are like, what the hell is this? Now, all of a sudden, they're like, oh, we didn't get all the info. This is not our fault. This is FBI in New York. That it's their fault. They screwed us over here. You knew what was in the binders ahead of time. You knew what was there. So why go through this whole dog and pony show and put it out there that way, and not just hold a press conference, right? If you knew that you were getting screwed over, you were getting stonewalled by the New York FBI, why not hold a press conference and absolutely skewer them? Hold a press conference and say, here's what's happening. Here's what we're trying to get. Here's what we're getting back. Here's what's being withheld. Here's the brick wall that we're hitting. And we're out here shouting it out so that you know what's happening and so that you understand why we can't get the information. But no, they come up with that whole story. They concoct the whole thing because of the backlash that they're getting. And they should be getting backlash. It is absolute insanity to say for years and years and years that you're going to release this information, and to have a phase one, first of all, unnecessary. You don't need a phase one. Second of all, to print it out in binders and give it to a few people and say, here you go, you disseminate it, is unnecessary. You could have just published it online, said, here's the link, go dig, enjoy. But to do it this way is absolute lunacy to me. And it doesn't make any sense other than you know that it's a disaster. And for whatever reason, you're putting it out like all this redacted information. And you just need the cover. You need the cover of these social media influencers to continue to go to bat for you, to try to combat all of the backlash that you're going to get. And here's my suspicion. They knew that if they could take these social media influencers who probably never in their wildest dreams thought that they would find themselves in a position to be invited into the White House as part of a presidential administration's major directive, right? So a major thing that they've been promising to do for a long time, and that they would have that level of proximity and access to that power. And so they're bringing these people in because now those people who never dreamed that this would be their lot in life, they don't want to give up that access. They don't want to give up that proximity to power. And so they will endlessly now go to bat for the administration and try to combat all of the backlash that's coming at them online because they want to stay in the good graces. And the way that they're going to do that is they're going to endlessly defend them. They're going to endlessly pass the buck and say, oh, it's not the admin's fault. It's this other field office, right? It's this group that's stonewalling. And just do what they always do, which is very politician and very political of them, which is, it's not us, it's them. It's them. Blame them. So that's my suspicion why they did it that way. They knew the disaster that was in that binder before they handed it over. And now they're acting as though they didn't know what was in there. But I think that that's why they did it that way, because they knew that the backlash was going to be so heavy that they would need these social media influencers to need and want to go to bat for them and combat all of that online, because now that they have this access, they won't want to lose it. So that's my suspicion. But who the hell knows? It was such a disaster. I posted yesterday, here's your TLDR for the Epstein Files Phase 1. Consider the can successfully kicked. That's just absolutely true. There's no other way to describe it other than you've totally kicked the can down the road. Apparently, well, we know that this binder was filled with redacted documents, right? Heavily redacted documents. Some people describing it as almost completely redacted. But what's crazier than that is that apparently some of these documents have previously been released unredacted. And so they're stuffing this binder with previously unredacted documents that you can access already, and they're putting it in there and redacting it. So pathetic. It's so pathetic. And speaking of pathetic, the same, in the same day as this happens with the Epstein files, or this doesn't happen, I guess I should say, we have the Tate brothers making their way to America. Oh, glory be. I didn't realize at first that they are American citizens. I thought maybe they were coming here to gladly pay $10 million, so $5 million each, to get these gold cards or whatever they're called. And but no, we're just saying like, hey, Romania, you gotta let them come here. They're American citizens. Like, we want them here. That makes a ton of sense. And even if you think that the charges and whatever for the Tate brothers are totally doctored, totally fabricated, they're just trying to nail these guys to the wall for whatever reason. You can go look at a ton of podcasts and clips that are out there where they freely admit stuff that they've done that should be completely anathema to, the party of family values and the party of Make America Great Again, where we want to rebuild society and have, the days of glory back. Are the Tate brothers the people that we're wanting to focus on, right? There's so much focus and energy put on, oh, let's get them here and save them. What are we talking about? So there was probably more effort put into that than actually trying to secure anything meaningful for the Epstein files. Apparently, if you're taking documents, if it's true that you're taking documents that were previously released unredacted, stuffing them in a binder and redacting them, I mean, it's something special. It's something special. I didn't think that this would be anything meaningful, but I couldn't have fathomed that they would take documents that had been previously released unredacted and redact them and put them in the binder. That's another level. If that's true. That I saw Laura Loomer had said that that was the case. So if she's right, she shows it side by side, and it looks legit. But I mean, who knows? Um, and then the next thing that I start to wonder is, if there's several things that Trump knows how to do well. One of them is moving the news cycle. He knows when there's something in the news cycle that he doesn't want there. He knows how to move that cycle along, and I'm really curious at the moment to see what that is. There is undoubtedly something or some things. This may take a few things that are going to pop up. Maybe they will seemingly come out of nowhere. Maybe there'll be things that have been talked about for a while and just haven't been done yet. But there's going to have to be some just huge smash and grab type stories that come out to try to move the news cycle along. Things that are so crazy, so important, whatever, but the news has to gravitate away from the Epstein debacle in order to focus on the new news items. And I'm really curious to see what are those things going to be. Again, if it's one thing, it's going to have to be one enormous thing. Otherwise, I think it's going to have to be a few or a couple at least, pretty heavy hitters. But that's the next thing that I'm wondering. What is it going to be? Because Trump knows how to move that news cycle. He knows how to play the media in that way for sure. And there's got to be something to be done here. Yeah, my curiosity here around this blame the New York FBI thing, if that's true, why have the whole dog and pony show that you saw yesterday? Why have a binder full of unredacted documents if you're then going to turn around and blame the New York FBI? Why wouldn't you have a presser and say, this is where we're being held up? These are the people who are deleting things, who are stonewalling us, whatever is happening, or whatever you're claiming is happening. Why not do that and apply maximum pressure? And you could certainly, I would imagine, as a presidential administration, do more heavy-handed things than that. But it seems to be coming out after the fact, right? If that's what was actually happening, that would have been front. That would have been front and center. That would have been the news story. But instead, they try to get away with this phase one nonsense. You don't need phases to begin with, and you certainly don't need documents that are almost completely redacted, some of which apparently have previously been released unredacted. This is now coming in after the fact as, who can we pass the buck to here? Who can we point the finger at and blame? Oh, okay, we can blame, this because, yeah, it's easy to hate on New York and it's easy to hate on the FBI. And so we'll lump those things together. We'll say that that's it. But we'll do it after the fact because it's just a way to try to simmer the backlash. It seems very apparent to me that that's the case, that this is an afterthought, that this wasn't something that was actually happening. Because why would you even do this way? It doesn't make any sense. You would go out there and you would be like, and you would do it on the steps, right? You do it on the steps of the office building in New York or something, right? You're right there and you're applying maximum pressure and you're saying, this is why we can't release these files to you. These people are doing X, Y, and Z, and we're trying to do A, B, and C, and we need the public to rise up with us. But here's what we're going to do to apply maximum pressure and get this stuff to you. But no, that's not what was done. You wouldn't release these binders full of redacted documents and do it this way and then talk about that after the fact. You need to give your influencers something to parrot because, again, now that you've given them access to a presidential administration and to the White House, they don't want to lose that access and that proximity above all. And so they will endlessly parrot now whatever it is that you want them to parrot in order to keep that access going. That's the reason you do that way. I guarantee it. Yeah, con man, confidence man. That's where that comes from. There's a reason. There's a reason that that's the case. Let's go over to Laura Loomer because she has actually been, I have a video coming out on my Walk With Me playlist. I don't know when it's coming out. Sometime in the next like 4 days. But it's about, Steve Bannon being right about something. And I disagree with a dominant amount of the percentage would be incredibly high, the amount of things that I disagree with him on. But you have to be able to disagree with people, even astoundingly disagree with people. And if they have a right point or a point that makes sense, to just continue to disagree with them because you're like, that person, I disagree with everything that they do. I find that to be really stupid. And so even Laura Loomer is out here saying, I hate to say it, but the American people can't trust the validity of the Epstein files released today. It was released in an unprofessional manner with paid partisan social media influencers to curate their binders for us. I can't trust anything in the binder. I think this was before anyone cracked open the binder and shared it with folks. And then after it was cracked open and we got to see the barcodes, right? The binder of barcodes. That's what it should be renamed as. Phase 1, the binder of barcodes. Laura Loomer says, "Good night, world. Can't wait to be gaslit for phase 2 today." That's very true. I'm happy that she understands that is the MO here. Gaslight to the max. I said this in a previous video that you haven't stuffed the administration with venture capitalists, but you have surrounded the administration with venture capitalists, and you have people who obviously have heavy influence because of their bank accounts in the venture capital world. And not all, but a lot of venture capitalists are tremendously gaslighty people. That is just how they operate. It's part of their day-to-day. It's part of how they communicate. It's part of how they engage, and it's just true. I've spent decades in the startup world, have interfaced with a lot of VCs, and we joke about it in the startup world. In the startup founder world, it's a well-known thing. You're like, oh, I'm gonna go get on this call with this VC and get gaslit for the next hour. It's a known fact, okay? And there are a few good ones out there, but this admin being surrounded by these billionaires and these VCs, those people are just at their fundamental core. I don't even think that they know that they do it. It is just how they operate. It's how they communicate. It's how they engage. They gaslight. So Laura Loomer is all over this. She continues on in that post. Maybe we'll find out today that a man named Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. And the big bad deep state in New York and former Trump AG Bill Barr lied about it all. It's breaking and exclusive news. Yeah, so what she's saying there is they're going to tell us a bunch of things that already is known to everyone, and pretend like it's breaking exclusive news. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think she was actually pointing this out last night, but I've pointed this out before, that people who run around and talk about, Trump's gonna release all this info and he's gonna get to the bottom of Epstein, Epstein Epstein died, I'll say it that way. Epstein died while Trump was in office. I don't know if people forget that or if they just select it out of their memory. But if there was an ability to rush in, put the full force and, clamp down hard on an investigation from a federal level at that point, that was it. When he was president and it happened. Lock it all down, get in there, find out what actually happened. Find out why the cameras stopped working, find out what was going on with any cellmate or adjacent cells or visitors or whatever, and find out what the deal is with the guards who, I can't remember, did they claim that they fell asleep or something as kind of cartoonish as that? Why didn't he just drop the full force of the investigative infrastructure at the federal level down on that prison at that time? That could have happened, right? Also, at that time, he could have released then the Epstein files, as could have Biden, right? Why Biden didn't do it, I don't know. I don't know if this is something so wild and crazy and there is just this vast protection across the board. I don't know. I almost also wonder that because people just immediately hated Biden, if he was like, screw it, because even if I release stuff, all that these Trump supporters are going to say is it's that I'm hiding a bunch of it, right? I'm going to release it and they're just going to say that it's not all of it and then I'm hiding a bunch of stuff. And there is no way to please people in this situation as it pertains to these files. And so screw it. I'm just not going to do it. Let Trump do it. Maybe. I don't. Obviously, that's the most that's the most benevolent option that I could provide there. But yeah, I don't know why Trump didn't do it last time. I don't know why he didn't go in heavy-handed and investigate what happened in that prison that day with Epstein. I don't know why he, in this last election cycle, spent a bunch of time like calling Nikki Haley a bunch of like crazy names and whatever. Not that, name calling, it's so juvenile, but like saying all these nasty things about Nikki Haley. And then when he's asked, but previous to that, when he's asked about Ghislaine Maxwell, right? Nothing nasty to say about Ghislaine Maxwell. Wished her well. Doesn't know much about the situation. Oh, you who know everything about everything, apparently, you know better than the generals, right? You know better than the economists. But one of the like pillar stories, one of the most, this is like at the time when, I don't know, when JFK happened, right? And there were people out there going like, this seems wrong, this can't be right. This is like our modern day thing playing out in real time where people are going, this can't be right. Like there's something clearly wrong. This is shockingly, this could be a strong uniter, to be honest, because I think that there's people across a broad spectrum of the aisles, left to right and whatever, who are like, something is wildly wrong here. And so if something could bring all of these sides to some central, point, this may sort of be it in a very shocking way. That wouldn't surprise me. But again, I do think that this will be temporary in the sense of like two things. One, Trump knows how to move the news cycle along. So something is going to happen, or some things are going to happen that are going to just move the news cycle along. There is inevitably planning right now to say, how do we get out of all this backlash that's happening? Instead of directly addressing it and fixing it, let's just move the news cycle along. We'll put everyone's attention somewhere else. So that I'm sure is happening. But also, this reminded me this morning actually of when a bunch of MAGA was up in arms about Elon and his H-1B stuff, right? And they were like, I'll never forgive this. This is unforgivable. And we don't see eye to eye. And you aren't actually this and you aren't actually that. And and now you're banning people who are speaking out against you on X. And so you're not actually a free speech absolutist and da-da-da-da-da. Again, the news cycle changes. People forget about it, even though it was like just a few weeks ago. And they move on. And so do I think that this will destroy people's confidence in like Trump or the administration or whatever? No. They'll move along the news cycle. Something else will pop up. They'll start applauding. And, they'll say, yay, good boy, you're doing it. And they'll forget about this whole debacle. Unfortunately, that's probably what will happen. I would be tremendously shocked if something else happened. I have a lot of coffee here. The joys of iced coffee. You don't have to wait for it to cool down. You can just shovel it right into your face. Um, yeah, I'm still scrolling through just the Laura Loomer stuff because it's interesting to me to see people who are so, she still starts a lot of these posts where she's just railing against the Epstein stuff. She still starts a lot of them with "I love President Trump," and I believe that that's true. I think it's crazy, but I think it's true. And it's interesting to see how she just sort of like divides those things up and places them. But there are things that she comes out and she's just right. She's right to be just absolutely slamming the disaster that this is. 6 hours ago, she said, there's really a lack of independent thinking on our side. This is what I was just talking about. If the Biden admin did this, people would be losing their minds. So there you go. This is why I stick to myself. Just can't stand the groupthink or the people involved. It's all so fake. Why can't people just admit the binders are propaganda? I mean, yeah, there's probably not a lot of crossover between Laura Loomer and I, but she is right on this. I saw Meghan McCain this morning said something like, we're never going to see the Epstein list. I don't even think you want the list or you need the list. I think what you really want are the videotapes. Aren't there apparently videotapes? I guess the other question is, if all of this evidence exists and there is a deep state trying to hide it, why are they preserving it? Are they preserving it because they need the blackmail capability? You could also just destroy it and not let those people who you're blackmailing or whatever know that you destroyed it. And even if you don't destroy it for that reason, don't you just like fly it out of the country to somewhere else? Instead of like you're housing it at the FBI HQ or at the New York FBI offices, like if you really need to hide it and memory hole it or whatever, I think you either destroy it, and if you can't destroy it because you need it to be able to blackmail people with, you don't put it in the building. You don't have it on the hard drive in the place where everyone knows to look. You have it somewhere where no one knows to look, right? I don't so in some ways, the hopeless part of me feels like, is there even anything to find here? Not in the sense that like nothing actually exists, but in the sense of, is it just somewhere inaccessible, unknowable, or completely destroyed already? I saw another channel talking about this release of the JFK files, which I guess, is that still happening? I don't know. But she was saying, this is so old now, right? And so if they had stuff that they had to hold on to like, again, like blackmail people or whatever, those people are probably long gone. And so if there's anything there that's really damning, it's probably long been destroyed. And so the idea that there's this stuff that's there that is still accessible is probably not the case. And I fear that that's probably the case here, because again, if you had this information about a major cover-up or anything along those lines, why would you just keep them in the FBI offices? It doesn't make any sense to me. And if you needed to keep them, you'd put them somewhere else. This John Rich guy on X. Right now, people all over America are having their coffee and discussing how the FBI and the SDNY are protecting traffickers. Disclosure on our own agencies is key to getting our country back on track. I'm frustrated we didn't get what we were supposed to get yesterday. But, here's the but. But, I have to click to read more. The byproduct of this situation is Americans are now glaring at the FBI through a new lens. To protect traffickers makes you complicit in trafficking. Dude, If the story was really SDNY and the FBI was blocking a thing, you wouldn't have done the binder thing yesterday. It doesn't make any sense to do the binder thing yesterday and then come out after the fact and say, this is all being blocked. You would have not created any binders because those binders do not need to exist because there's nothing in there. At least nothing readable in there. Those binders do not need to exist. And so my guess is you thought you could get away with that, which is, that alone is crazy. But when you couldn't, here's your backup story. Because what is the admin always looking to do? I'm not saying just the Trump administration, though it is the Trump administration. Seemingly most political administrations are looking to pass the buck, to say, it's not our fault. We couldn't fix it. We couldn't do it. It's those people. They did it. We hate them, right? Yeah. It's them. They did it. That's what politicians do. That's why people don't like politicians. And there used to be this concept of the buck stops here. Here being at the desk of the president in the Oval Office. But those days are long gone. And now it is just who can we blame so that we can say none of this is our fault. We're completely in charge, and we're the only ones who can save everything, but nothing is our fault. So this is true, right? Laura Loomer says 18 hours ago, there are no Epstein files. The binders are props. Every single one of those right-wing paid influencers lied to all of you today. They engaged in deception to run cover for what do we say now? PDF files. And they posted selfies with prop binders. Yeah, while there's actually hundreds of victims out there still looking for answers and justice, and this is what's happening. It's crazy. I'm glad that some people seem to be willing to acknowledge that. There are obviously a ton of people trying to run cover right now, right? And do that thing of, it's the SDNY FBI field office. Abby Libby says, what a horrible, humiliating, demoralizing day to be a conservative. That was 17 hours ago. Let's see what's trending on good old X. The Epstein is trending. Call to activism. This is disgusting. Da, da, da. Oh yeah, this is this is actually not Epstein focused. They just sort of mention it, but they're showing a clip of Andrew Tate, and you don't need the charges in Romania. You can totally think that they are trumped up. No pun intended. You can think they're totally fabricated, and you can think that they're just trying to pin these guys to the wall with fake charges. You can think that because there are tons of clips of they themselves saying what they've done in the past. And if you think that is what you want to come here and stand up for and protect, then yeah, you definitely don't stand by the principles that you proclaim to stand by. That's for sure. You being party of family values, we want to rebuild our communities. We want to go back to traditional values, conservative values, whatever. The Tates ain't it. So it's quite interesting to see people who were just like, cheering, rally crying around this photo op with the binders before they had any information about what was in the binders. It's quite wild. And it is just an insane thing to see people holding what could be, what should be, a file full of tremendously, the greatest example of the worst of humanity, right? That's what that binder should be. And to see people coming out there and just being so full of glee and teeth shining in the sun, holding it up like they just won the frickin' Stanley Cup or something. It's nuts. This should be a solemn, sobering endeavor, not this oh, look what I got. Look what I won today. Um, Greg, if you don't know, Greg on X is a very funny uh, profile, and he he took a picture of a Bush's Bean can of the barcode, circled it, and he says, "You're telling me the Epstein files have been on this can of beans the whole time?" That's totally true. It's totally true. The barcode on your can of Bush's baked beans, that is basically what the Epstein files are at this point. Um, yeah. Yeah, people still going off about Clinton. Your question here has to be, well, if that's the case, what's the protection mechanism here? Like, why continue to protect? You can't find, there's all this stuff out there apparently, and you can't find anything to release, right? Like SDNY has all of it. I guess that's the other thing, right? Passing this buck to the SDNY after the fact. They have all of it, really. There's nothing that you all have access to. I thought that this is why people voted you in and put you in power, was because then you would have access to everything and you could sort of unilaterally act to remedy these wrongs. But now apparently that's not the case. Sorry, Charlie. But yeah, I think, people are yelling and screaming about the files. Obviously, I still think, I understand you want the files because, it's become such a thing to say, right? Like JFK files, MLK files, Epstein files. I think what you actually want are the videotapes, right? If you really want something, right? Wasn't his home in New York just littered, and wherever else he was, just littered with video cameras and surveillance equipment? I think that that's what you want. You don't just want a piece of paper saying, "Oh, here's who flew with us today." Um, you want the video of the person doing a thing in real life that's captured. I think that that's what you want. Um, oh, good, Valsboom's back. There are so many reasons he was voted in. Yeah, sure, but this is what I'm talking about at the moment. I'm not saying anything was a single issue here, but this is what's happening right now. The Tates and Epstein. Um, and I put out a video a few days ago. If you don't know, on this channel, I also cover the stocks and the stock market. It's looking mighty dicey to me at the moment. I don't know that I've ever said this before through the years of covering stocks on this channel, but to me, things are looking quite precarious. Um, Obviously, I have retirement accounts and investments and stuff. It does not benefit me if there's a crash here. I'm just telling you from the perspective of the valuations and the charts as I see them, things are looking pretty rough. I'm just flipping through the charts right now. You got some big guys here. Apple down again today at the moment. Netflix up a smidge. Meta down. Microsoft down. Nvidia down again. The Nasdaq down at the moment. S&P up 0.03% at the moment. Tesla is in bad shape. Tesla is about to fill the gap that they have. That if it does fill that gap, it would bring it down to 255.28. Right now it's at 278. A few months ago, in December, it was up close to 500. So, obviously, that is a big market mover. But yeah, things are looking quite rough to me, market-wise, and the Buffett indicator is at overvalued, and Cohen's come out and given his warnings. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, predicting things is hard or impossible. Sometimes you get it right, and that's just because sometimes you get lucky. But yeah, to me, it looks quite dicey. So we'll see what happens. on one of my larger accounts, I think I pulled everything out except for the index funds or something. Yeah, I think that's right. So who knows? But my other accounts, I still have some stuff active. I was looking at the Epstein Reddit, r/Epstein, but oh yeah, this person says, why does everyone focus on the flight log and contact list when the FBI literally has videotape evidence from Epstein's estate? Yeah, that's what that's what I've been saying here. It's I think that's what you want. That's what you actually want. If you're saying that they have all these things, I guess if for some reason you can't get the media files, right? The video, the audio, whatever it is, the photographic stuff, then sure, you'll take things written down on paper. But why would you take things written down on paper if you have video, audio, whatever? I think that's the real mover there. 9 references to Trump and the Epstein files released by Pam Bondi today. Okay, stuff we knew already, right? This person says, new Jeffrey Epstein contact list includes Alec Baldwin, Michael Jackson, Mick Jagger, and RFK Jr.'s mom. I don't, it almost sounds like a joke post. I don't know if it is. Maybe it's not. They linked to something from the New York Post. Yeah. But I thought that r/Epstein would be a little bit more active today. There's only 22 people online at the moment, apparently. But maybe everyone is so sort of like disheartened and disgruntled that they're like, screw it. 9 hours ago on the subreddit, anyone find it odd how Ghislaine Maxwell and Donald Trump are not in the contact book, but 2 Trump siblings, daughter and wife are? Jeffrey might have multiple ways of storing contacts for special people. I suppose that's true. I don't know. There's also like a bunch of like differing information on here. Some people saying that this does exist, that doesn't exist. But one of the crazier things that I think came from all of this was, at least what Laura Loomer is saying is that not only are these binders packed full of heavily redacted, almost fully redacted by some accounts, pieces of paper, but that some of these documents, as Laura Loomer is purporting on her feed, some of these documents have been released unredacted previously. And so now they're packing these binders full of previously unredacted things that people have already had access to for years, I guess. And they're saying, oh, we need to redact it, and then we'll stuff it in this binder, and there you go. Yeah, the whole thing, I mean, what an absolute disaster. Just seeing if anything else is popping up that's sort of like fresh today. Let's see. So I haven't read this yet, so I'm reading it live here. So what did we learn today? We learned that Trump, Bondi, and Cash are legitimately trying to expose the Epstein situation, and the SDNY office are withholding thousands of files, audio, video, etc. But Bondi and Cash are on to them. This is really long. This is like half of a book. I will say it again. This feels to me like a cover story. This SDNY FBI thing feels like a cover story to me, because if your real stonewall, your real brick wall, the real non-starter that you had in trying to release the files was this issue, you could have come out and said, we're standing here on the steps of the FBI offices in the Southern District of New York. Here's what they're doing to stonewall us. And here's what we're going to do to bring down the full force and weight of the federal government to get the information that they're trying to withhold from us. Because if we were to release what we have today, it would be a binder full of blacked out pages. And here's why. Because we're getting stonewalled from these people behind us, who are in this building behind us. And here's what we're going to do to fight it. That's what you would have done. You wouldn't have tried to trot this stuff out through these influencers who will endlessly defend you because they somehow woke up in a world where they have access to the Oval Office you wouldn't have trotted that out through them and then use this as your cover story because of the amount of backlash that you're getting. And you're saying, oh, how do we get the heat off of us? We're going to put it over there. No, you would have front loaded. You wouldn't have created these binders at all. You wouldn't have done this whole stupid dog and pony show at all. It was unnecessary. You created the backlash because you did this stupid thing. But I suppose that you did that stupid thing because you thought you could get away with it. And when you found out you couldn't, you're like, what's our cover story here? Oh, it's SDNY, right? Everyone here hates New York. SDNY, FBI, those are two words that we know that people hate. Yep, let's stick them together and let's put it on those folks. Right? And let's change the narrative. The narrative is now that. But that came after the fact. Why did it come after the fact? Because, as I will say, it's a cover story. Unbelievable. Yeah, it's also hard when things are so wildly non-chronological. So it's like my feed is just filled with stuff that's like, 20 plus hours old. Breaking 14 hours ago. Breaking, hot take here. General Flynn calls for public arrests for everyone on the Epstein list. First of all, what is a public arrest? I don't even know what that is. Is that an actual legal term? Isn't the idea in this country that arrest information, arrest records and whatnot are public as a means of transparency? I don't know what a public arrest is, but in any case, I mean, wow, what a strong stance to take for somebody to come out and say the people that are on the Epstein list should be arrested. Whew. Wow, you're really going out on a limb there. I don't know. You're going to get a lot of backlash for that. That's a really hot take. Your neurons are really firing there to come up with something as innovative as that concept. Oh, God. This is actually kind of funny. One of these same accounts that's trying so hard to run cover and say it's the SDNY FBI's fault. Elon chimes in on the whole Epstein files situation, and he puts a photo of a post from Elon. Elon said, people don't understand that you don't get instant power here. Yeah, the guy who's running around just deciding that him and his band of teenage misfits can fire people who they don't even understand what they do. That sounds like instant power to me. So it's quite ironic that person is then coming out, right? It's just whatever narrative fits best. I'm going to shove that down your throat. And if it's like, there's activist judges, they don't have the ability to step in here and stop us from doing what the people voted for. We're going to go do it anyway. We're going to trim these departments, and we're going to cut the fat, and we're going to get rid of the waste, and we're going to do it unilaterally, and the judges can't stop us. They're activist judges. They weren't voted in. Then you do have instant absolute power, right? That's what you're saying there. And then when it doesn't fit your narrative, because the team that you support does something incredibly stupid and just willfully underwhelming, then your narrative is people don't understand that you don't get instant power here, right? It's just like when all of a sudden he was getting engaged in fights with all of these other MAGA influencers and right-wingers and stuff over the H-1B thing, and then he comes out with, there should be more, I don't remember what his exact phrasing was, but something like, we should have more positive posting here on X. Like, what are you talking about, man? This is the gaslighting thing that I'm talking about. This is the VCs and certain people in the startup world, even if you're not a VC, but if you're in a certain strata, in a certain positioning in the startup world, these people have gaslighting in their bones. I'm telling you, I don't think that they selectively do it. I think it is just how they operate. Maybe at a certain point in time, when they weren't just driven by incessant gaslighting, maybe they did selectively do it then, but it is so ingrained in their being at this point that it is just how they operate. And I think that that's what this is. This is just pure gaslight, as was that, complete 180 of, oh, there's be more positive posting here, right? After you spent months and months and months just calling people the R word and just incessantly fighting with everyone, promoting the divide, promoting the hatred, the division, and just fueling discontent. Then all of a sudden, when some of the heat comes back at you and you're fighting with people who you used to be all chummy with or who used to endlessly just support you, then all of a sudden, oh, we need some more positive posting on here. It's really pathetic. It's really sad. It's as pathetic as pretending that you are one of the top gamers on a video game that you absolutely don't know how to play, and certainly don't know how to play to get to the level that you are claiming that you're at, and that you clearly have done something else to create that game player positioning. And yeah, it's really pathetic. It's really pathetic. These posts are so old. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see anything new here. Epstein Island trending, shocking. Yeah, something about Bill Clinton, something about Jay-Z, something about ABC blocking something. Ivanka Trump on Epstein flight logs list more than 100 times. I don't know if that's true. So these are just things people are posting. But yeah, those are my 2 cents on all of this chaos. But I thought about making a video, and I just thought, you know what? By the time the video gets out there, I don't know how much all this will have changed, and so I'll just do a live. But I hope you are enjoying your coffee or tea, or maybe you're one of those crazies that just drinks water in the morning and gets along just fine. But I hope you all have a nice day and a good weekend ahead. And I will catch you next time. Peace.